You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Chiro Thin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Zingit Solutions, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, True Chiro, the Social Health Experts Summit, Chiropractic Jobs Online, Rhino Coaching, Chiro Matchmakers, and Chiro Moguls. Let's hustle. Hey guys, Jim Chester here. I have Diane Kazer here, and guess what? She is not a chiropractor, but I'll let her tell you a little bit about herself. But she is out in Orange County, California right now. She says she's looking at the ocean, and I am coming in from Grand Junction, which is in the Grand Valley on the western slope of Colorado, and that's where no one lives. And I moved here to hear the birds chirp. And today, before we get going, Diane, our sponsor today is Imaging Services, and that's Mike Tokash. And Mike basically has a business that teaches people how to look at the bones of the body. And I know today during our talk, Diane, we're going to talk about the components of what it looks like to do the x-ray of everything else inside the body. So as that goes on, first things first, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be with you guys. I'm a chakrapractor, and I'll share with you more about what that means later to complement chiropractic.
Yeah, and I know that there's a huge element to this, and today's title to this talk is love and self-love, but also once the chiropractic adjustment's in place, all else follows. So those are all major components, but I know you really have a good message today for not only myself and my audience, but for women out there. First of all, let's just kind of give a quick introduction of who you are so people know about what you're doing in this world.
Yeah, well, I'm absolutely all about love. And it's something that is our greatest medicine, but it's extremely neglected, but it's the freest resource. Talk so much about like solar energy and all these free resources that have been submerged in the name of profits. And, profits, P-H-E-T-C, look at the words, profits, and wisdom, not so wise. And it's okay to make money, of course, but if we're doing it from a perspective of coming from our heart versus our ego, that's what makes it sustainable in any chiropractic office or practice or anyone. And I've worked with many chiropractors, and I'll first say that I have been a professional soccer player in most of my 20s. And when I started my journey with chiropractic and understood the importance of chiropractic, I was 17 years old and I found out that I had an extra bone in my spine. And I was like, oh, so I'm really legitimately like a dinosaur. I have like an extra bone. And I learned I was so crowded. And I believe that everything is as above, so below. So if we're crowded in our spine, then we're probably crowded in other areas of life. Or I like to get curious about how am I playing a part in my physical body? Am I creating this crowdiness? Am I spreading myself too thin? Am I people pleasing all over the place? Am I a yes person? Who am I without all of this? And so I started my chiropractic journey when I was 18, and it's been 22 years. I'm 40 years old now. And I have had a chiropractic adjustment every week my entire life, even when I played professional soccer in Germany. I'm huge about it. I team up with them the most of any kind. So yes, Chiro Hustle, I'm one of you. And I've worked with many chiropractors, worked on the team of many chiropractors in Orange County. I have been their physical, nutritional, emotional person inside of their staff. And I believe that next to like the yin and yang, next to every good chiropractor is a functional medicine, functional nutrition person that can dive deep with each soul that comes into the practice into the realm of the gut health, into the realm of heart and connection, into the realm of self-love and self-care, and really looking and x-raying all of the areas of our life holistically where we are creating our disharmony. And so we can do this as a team. It's not like one person anymore. This is like a we, not a me anymore. And we're moving into that era. So I first started my journey with chiropractors, and I was super misaligned in many places in my life. And I learned that I had many autoimmune diseases through my work as a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. I had Hashimoto's, I had small intestine bacterial overgrowth, I had IBS, I had rosacea, I was depressed, I was suicidal, I had many issues that I thought were just part of being a human. And as the doctor said, it's your genetics, there's nothing you can do about it. And I was like, okay, I'm a pro soccer player. If I can figure that out in the field, then I can take that same kind of synergy and figure myself out. And so I reversed all of my diseases in my 8 years as a functional medicine person and working with all of these key areas we'll talk about today. And alongside my chiropractors, I self-healed. And I believe that every person innately has that inside of themselves.
Wow. I know that you're going to open up the eyes, the ears, and hearts of so many people with that message. And I know that self-love is one of the most important things. And so many people kind of write themselves off when they get some type of a conditioning and they get some type of a diagnosis. And actually, they become more sick and less adventurous to find the solution for what's going on inside of them. So I commend you for sticking to it and figuring out how to, Dave Asprey calls it biohacking.
I call it biohacking because I'm Diane. Radio show. I love that guy. He's one of my friends.
and one of my friends, Krista Moss, she's over in, I believe, Norway. And she goes, yeah, chiropractic advocate. And Barbara Eaton says, happy Monday, Chiro Hustle. And the thing is, it's about our teams, right? And it's about the following that we have. And it's about loving each other so we can share a better message to other people. And most people, honestly, as I say this time after time, it's like broken record to me, but most people don't do anything because they don't know where to go or who to trust.
Yes.
And I think that those things are fundamental. And the second part of our title to this live today is start with the adjustment and all else will follow. And I think that that's kind of what you've discovered at a young age as a teenager. And you said, like, after 23 years of this, you still get checked and adjusted regularly. Now, how is that really like making an impact with the different parts of lifestyle? We have the eating, we have the thinking, we have the sleeping, we have the moving. Let's talk about how these things cross-pollinate into those components when we start keeping the core healthy and strong.
Yeah, and the core from a physical perspective is far beyond an 8-pack. And I was a competitive bodybuilder for many years. And that's when I discovered I was super sick. It was just after I got my breast implants installed because I thought I needed these things to win. And now I'm 2 months out from removing them because I've discovered how very sick they make me. Thanks, Jim. And how I got them out of a place of insecurity. And this is actually what began my self-love journey, is realizing how much I didn't love myself and all of the areas and the places that I, as a woman, and men, we all do this. We're all feminine and masculine, and we have that inside of us. So it's time that we let that yin and yang come together as a whole. And that's what I believe is truly our core, is realizing that we have shadow and light within us, and that there is no good or bad. That's all dualism. That's all the ego's judgment. So really the core is strengthening our intuition, our ability to trust in ourselves, in the wisdom that we came here already embedded with, and that strength comes from within. And the more that we self-doubt, the more that we look to the outside world for approval, for fixing, and for aligning. And yes, it's great to have a team around you to keep buffering you, because number one carcinogen today is loneliness. And some might argue and say, well, that's not the number one cause of heart disease. Adjustments and not being aligned, and maybe cholesterol would be, someone else says it. I say that from a total mockery perspective because we now know that's debunked. So there's a lot of stuff out there that all contradicts each other. And now if we look at it all and go, this is chaos. How can I make calm of the chaos? And that is really, truly learning to listen from within. And we can't hear our intuition. We can't hear our gut feeling when our gut is messy. When it's foggy outside, like I can see the ocean beautifully right now, but when it's foggy, I can't see beyond my back patio. And that's how many of us are living today. We're living in this fog and this haze, and then our gut looks the same, as above, so below. So we can't see through all of it. And it's because there's a misalignment energetically. So if we have energetic alignments, energetically, emotionally, and you do that alongside physical alignment, then everything starts to come. Everything starts to come to you instead of having to work so hard, wasting your energy, burning out your adrenals, your thyroid, and everything else in your body, and literally draining everything out, trying to force instead of just merely attract from being the force. So it is all within us. We just have to move the fog away. And no diet and no exercise program and no adjustment will ever work if we have misalignment in our energy and our chakras.
Well, a couple of things there you said, Diane, I really want to touch on is you basically spoke chiropractic. You said I think it was above down, but within chiropractic it's above down, inside out.
Mm,
And some of the things that you touched on there were the major premise of chiropractic, which is innate intelligence.
yes.
And innate intelligence it's electric lightning that flows through our spinal column. And when that's out of alignment, the reason they call it an organ system because it's organized. And if we have something that's out of alignment within our spine that's subluxated, the energy going to that organ system isn't going to be organized. And it's going to be like we like to say in chiropractic, when we put a kink in a hose, the flow of energy going to that water or to that plant isn't going to make a beautiful garden because there's a kink in the hose and the water's not getting to it. And that's what happens when we have a subluxation in the nervous system is it puts a kink in our spine, not allowing that liquid lightning to shoot up and down through our neurological system and our neurological patterns. So innate intelligence is so important, which you touched on without really saying that. And then the above, down, inside out premise is so important that people kind of know that the body is a self-healing, self-regulating, but we need no interference. And when you start clearing up this interference, and as we were talking off camera, it's congestion. It's an emotional congestion. It's a physical congestion. And when we had these great ideas, hell yeah, it's a good idea. But where's the action? And I know that that's something that we're going to touch on next is I know that you do some amazing things for women and you help you help with their congestion of life and with their energy. So let's talk a little bit about how you really dial in and help people.
I am a decongestant. But you cannot find it over the counter. Yeah, I have a 4-pillar system too. And that is to feed 4 things. Stephen Cox is right on the money. Yes. Invest in yourself, right? That's like the greatest investment you can invest in your business, invest in yourself, invest in your purpose. So I say there's 4 things to feed every single day. And every morning I don't let myself get out of bed until I've fed one of them. And that's my purpose. So it's like you got this phone thing and you could look all day long at confirmation and approval and performance and numbers, but really truly what it comes down to is that we are souls having a human experience. And so that may sound a little woo-woo and I may sound out there for some of you, but I'll bring it back scientifically every single time because I'm on both sides of the fence. So it's like that's what the yin and yang is all about. That's what that balance is. So before you even get out of bed, and this is what I say to all of my clients, and we've got clients from all around the world. So we ship labs to them. We work with them to cleanse their body, heal their hormones, and ignite their life. And it's like, I know there's something deeper within me, but I don't know how to walk through the landmines of my life. And I don't have enough experience to discover where the booby traps are. I'd rather have someone hold my hand with me and walk through the dark that I don't realize because that's 80% of our subconscious. We don't know what we don't know, and we're out there just reacting to the world and making up stories and believing that's our truth. And that's based on our values. That's what creates our sense of purpose. And so if we feel so aligned with our family and needing to be what we thought our family needed us to be for approval, then we'll continue to sell ourselves out and we lose our sense of purpose because we're just trying to matter based on the eyes of our parents. And so when I really, before I go to bed, I teach all of my clients, rituals are important to get through all of the things. If you don't have rituals, then you don't have anything. You're just kind of lost in your ping pong ball and you'll get knocked all over the place. So what is your purpose? You feed your heart, you feed that before you get out of bed. What is the greatest expression of myself that I can put out into the world today to serve? But also coming from a place of abundance, because you always want to make sure that I always start the first hour of my day. No one talks to me. I have no videos. I'm just listening to my soul. I'm like out in the ocean. I'm quiet. I'm peaceful. And I let spirit come through me so I can express myself through that. And that way I'm not acting out of my ego. I'm acting from my heart. So that's number one, is feeding that purpose and feeding your heart. And then also is feeding your body. Then there's feeding your mind and there's feeding your soul. So we have in our program, we have everything starts with clarity. Otherwise, you're just out there just doing stuff and you are subject to what the outside world wants of you and what you think the outside world wants of you. And you wear many masks, not hats, masks, trying to perform as though you think that you need for an attaboy. And we all want that. But deep inside, your soul goal deserves something far greater. And that does not require approval. It requires community. And it requires people who are all aligned with the same purpose, that we want to be in service. So it's feeding all of those things. If you are on the greatest diet in the world, and you're on the best cleanse in the world, and you're the best chiropractor in the world, and you do the best labs in the world, and I've seen this time and time again. I've had many chiropractors refer patients to me, and they've done millions of dollars worth at Cedars-Sinai of labs and scans, and they still don't know what's wrong. And you still don't have your fundamentals and your foundation. What is this all for? Well, I'm not in a relationship, and I love in my life. Well, you're kinked out from love. You don't have love, self-love, and you can't attract love into your life in abundance until you have that within yourself. That's what the law of attraction is. And I know that's kind of maybe out there too. But we have to feed everything. If you're feeding your physical body, but not your emotional body, and men, the warriors out there are the ones who are really doing the work and sharing from their heart and using these two, heart and mind, to both share together. So it's feeding all of those things. And if you're not feeding one of those four things, then the other three things have to work harder. And that's when I see lab tests completely off that confirm adrenal blowout, thyroid blowout, autoimmune disease, gut dysfunction. And if we are around parasitic people, and if we express the parasite of perfectionism and trying to be perfect in everything that we do, I often will see parasites overgrown on lab tests. And we've got infection, inflammation, and immune system dysfunction. As above, so below. I can see it all. So we can't just allopathically, individually go after one thing without considering all of the things. And when you do the fusion of all of them together, they play like this beautiful song. And that's the message that we came here to sing, is our soul goal and our life purpose. Without that, what's it all for?
So well said. I know that anybody out there that's watching this, if you're finding value in what Diane is sharing with you, hashtag value in the comments. If you're watching this on replay, hashtag replay, so that we know that you watched this with us after it was over from the live. And if you find that we're really sharing some deep stuff that you think other people need to hear, please hit the share button right now, because I know that this message is so vital to the transformation of people's lives. And I come from Iowa. This is a Iowa like outline here. The year that chiropractic was founded was 1895. And I know if you don't have your health, you have nothing. And I grew up in Iowa, and if people get sick, they will literally sell their farm to keep a loved one healthy. And they will literally do everything in their power to save someone that they love from being sick. And if we just knew what we know now, in order to make sure that we are creating a vessel of health instead of a vessel of disrepair and disease and dysfunction and decay, then we can then roll the years back and give years to our life and life to our years. And that sounds cliche as a statement, but when people really dive in to really know who they are, what's going on in the core of them, now we can start to transition how people's health actually mitigates over time. And I know that that's something you have to look deep inside of us to know. But like you touched on earlier, in chiropractic, it's the eat well, think well, move well type philosophy. But so many times people are neglecting the adjustment. And if you aren't getting adjusted, it doesn't matter how fit your muscles are. It doesn't matter how beautiful your face is. You can still come stricken down with these things like, parasites in our systems. You can still come stricken down with things like autoimmune diseases. You can still get stricken down with things. So if you're not practicing the chiropractic adjustment first for all else to follow, then you actually don't know who you are. Your identity's lost, and you're just a shell of yourself trying to perform. And a lot of times we put career before health. But I guarantee you, most people are living paycheck to paycheck, and that's how their bank account is for their health too. They're living paycheck to paycheck for their vitality. And most people don't even understand what it actually is like to feel good, because they drive themselves so damn hard. They're like that mule in the field that nobody takes care of, but is expected to perform. And nobody asks it how it's doing, And that's just it. Is we have these similarities because we are animal species. And if we don't check in with each other, and if we don't have self-love, how the heck are we supposed to love someone else? You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession.
This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Chiro Thin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Zingit Solutions, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, True Chiro, the Social Health Experts Summit, Chiropractic Jobs Online, Rhino Coaching, Chiro Matchmakers, and Chiro Moguls. Let's hustle.
Or expect. If we love ourselves, we teach other people how to treat us. And I find that a big form of self-love now is having boundaries. And I mean, it's great to serve and be in service, but it's also great to use your intuition that says, this person is not here to grow with me, they're here to take from me. And that's where a lot of the emotions come and play with this, is that, I mean, throughout this whole breast implant illness journey, and I'm now a big face communicating this to health practitioners, and I hope that chiropractors hear this too, is that what really started this is that I was emotionally wrecked. I had just gone through a breakup last year. It was really traumatic for me, but it was like one of those ones that opened your eyes so that you can see like what real love is and what real connection is, and why it's so important to have each other, is that we're merely but reflections of one another. So if you have somebody in front of you that you love, and like you and I say to each other, because we're kindred souls, right? Am I frozen? I look like I'm frozen.
No, you're still moving.
Okay, my thing is frozen. But anyway, is that you are a reflection of me. People right now listening, what they're hearing is a reflection of themselves, and it has nothing to do with me or you. But we're teaching each other something. So if we want someone to be in our life, it's because we want to see our deepest in ourselves. We can only love other people when we love ourselves. And so what I realized in my relationship, this last one, it was the hardest heartbreak I've ever experienced, but it broke me open. And I realized I didn't fall in love with him. I fell in love with myself because of the access points that I got to have by being on a ship with someone. Otherwise, we're just like that donkey or just that one person rowing ourselves. And that is not sexy. We were brought up as women and as young boys too. Pick up your big girl panties or pick up your big boy boxers, and you got this, go do it. You don't need anybody else. And that's a bunch of, am I allowed to swear?
You can.
It's a bunch of donkey shit, I guess. And that's a jackass move. And that's total division. That's not how we are. We're dolphins. We swim in pods. So when I was going in to get my chiropractic adjustments, after leading a retreat last year in Costa Rica, I came back and my muscles were all off. And it was because there was all kinds of inflammation happening inside of me, but there was also inflammatory thinking. And my heart was broken. So there was all kinds of energetic movements happening inside of me. And he adjusted me all day long. And I got adjusted 2-3 times a week sometimes, but it still wasn't getting to the core of it. Once I started getting to the core of it, which was I realized that my thoughts on repeat, which 90% of them are negative for most of us, they're on repeat, and they're 90% on repeat, 70% are negative. Those impact so much of our constitution, of our physical bodies. Dr. Gabor Mate is someone you could look at the science behind this, is that our energy and our emotions impact our physical body and our mineral patterns. So the more that we're stressed, the more that we're depleting our minerals, and those minerals have so much to do with the integrity of the spine. And so like the integrity of the spine is calcium, and a lot of us don't have the ability to utilize calcium. Something like coffee, as an example, to keep driving forward, depletes calcium in the body, depletes magnesium in the body, and the body will have to actually break down bone in order to get that so that the body can balance its pH. So it's like chiropractic is so much more than adjustments. It's where are the minerals coming from? Am I so toxic with heavy metals in my environment that if I've got heavy metals blocking the cell wall doors, minerals can't get in? So the more toxic that we are, the less that we can actually put our body back together. So it's not just about fixing, it's about where are we breaking, and the daily places. There are hundreds of places that we look at.
Well, I know that we're getting up to the edge of our time with each other today, and I know we could probably go into so many other topics about self-development and knowing what's inside of us to where we can elevate our our physical being to be able to be in tune with our emotional being. And I know that there's so much that goes involved with self-healing and self-love when it comes to loving each other and spreading that around the world. I think Bob Marley always got it right. When I was a teenager, I loved his music. I still do, but he always said one love. And I think that the more that we realize that we're all more alike than we are different, that if we just start doing a couple simple things, having clean thoughts, one of the things that when a couple years ago, I was really struggling financially, and I would finish doing my yoga session and I'd be in a class, what would fly through my brain while I was in Shavasana? The one thing that would fly through my brain was money trouble. And that's when you're supposed to be at a place of peace and rest. And I think that so many times when people are supposed to be at that state of peace and rest, the things that dominate them are that 90% cycle and those 70% negativities. And I think that when people have that 90% cycle of lack or neglect or insufficient or whatever it might be, the dark side of it, they can never remain in the lightness. And when we put ourselves through a good, healthy thought process and a good, healthy physical process, and then we start to become financially strong, and then we realize what type of person we are, I would just urge everybody that's watching this before we jump off to share this. And then I would urge you to find somebody and tell them that you love them today, and call up your mom and tell her that you love her, and call up your dad if he's around and tell him that you love him. And then just share with somebody. Maybe it's your friend. Just send 5 messages to people and don't say anything else. Just say, I love you, and see what that does for your consciousness and see what that does for the vibrational tone for the rest of your day. And I guarantee you abundance will find you because you told somebody something that they're searching for, and everybody's searching for something. And if you just give people the small, simple step of a deliverable that I love you and I appreciate you, those are the vibrational tones that will change your outlook, and they will attract that law of attraction you were talking about earlier. Those are the things that will bring the people into your life stronger that you need to attract to yourself in order to give you that sufficient lifestyle that you're looking for. And I know that health comes from above down, inside out, and innate intelligence is flowing through all of us. And is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to touch on today?
Yeah, there's just a couple things I would say that. How many more minutes do we have left? Like 5, maybe.
You tell me. You're the one that has a pressing call.
No, it's okay. We can fly a little bit more here. I'm not like in a hurry. If this flows, I can just message my team. I'm such a busy person, We've got to spread a lot of love around these parts. A lot of love to spread. When you're speaking about this, Jim, I also want to urge you guys out there too. It's not just about I'm sending I love you. Here's what it's also about, is disengaging from the attachments and our expectations of what we want to receive back. Because so many of us, we're like, I'm going to send an I love you, and it's seductive. And we're like, but they didn't say I love you back. Oh my God. And then why did I send that? And
I feel rejected.
Yes. And so now we're in reject land, and we're back to being in 6th grade when Sean Kaufman bullied you and said that you were this, and then the whole school laughed at you, and you're back in that shameville. And I say that there's 4 things that provide so much darkness in our world that if we get through this trauma, we can transcend anything and move into transformation. And that is shame, which is the darkest, deepest emotion of all. And so many of us are numbing that out with working excessively, working out excessively, sex, porn, drugs, prescriptions, food, which the second one is sugars. We're drowning in sugars. We're drowning our shame and covering that up with sugar. Look at obesity, 70% of America, right? And the rest of the world's following us. There's a reason for that. We are numbing things out because we don't want to feel our darkness. Our darkness is our superpower. Our darkness is our superhero. Your 6th grader who's in there going, oh my God, when I got bullied. We have to self-parent and self-regulate to self-heal. And it's about having a conversation with all of these parts because they're back there. I can tell you right now, if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I don't have those. We all have them. And many people who are listening, maybe even parents. And how would you talk to your inner child that's screaming at you? Mom, I'm so afraid because last time, hold on, honey. How many of us listening right now talk to ourselves so shamey? Like, what the hell do you think that you're doing? Why would you even try that? Last time, we hear all the voices, and then we just cut it off. And I'll say something about that next. But it's the shame, it's the sugars, It's the should. We should all over ourselves with, oh, you should have done it that way, or you should be doing this. And that's a very shamey statement to make to yourself. It's a very bossy, bullying way to speak to yourself. So like you said, is we have the privilege to. We don't should anything, but I have the privilege to. I shouldn't anything, but I have the privilege to. Words matter. Your mind hears that. Your heart hears that. So your choice of words, they have resonance. They have tonality. Just like the muscles, how we speak to ourselves, we have to train ourselves into a new way of speaking to self. And reverence, deep reverence, that's what self-love really is pausing and going. And that's why I love yoga. I'm a yoga teacher too. I don't teach it anymore except for on our retreats. But you hear something that triggers you and you go, pause. Not react, respond. That 5-second pause takes years to cultivate and develop. But look at Facebook all day long. It's like, and they're all just fighting and everyone's like, I'm right. You want me to prove it? How is that serving anyone? It's just dualism and separating. And at the bottom of all of us, we all believe certain things. But it's not about gaining someone's approval of you or having someone say it back. It's just putting it out there. And imagine, like I say, every love song that you hear on the radio, imagine that's you singing back to yourself and seducing yourself. That's what attracts love to you, is that you're a love magnet because you love yourself. And there's a lot of like, yeah, self-love. But self-love is just you slowing down enough to hear the wisdom coming through you. Yeah, it is taking a bath. Yeah, it is making love. Yeah, it is getting a massage. But how are you talking to yourself through all of that? If you're not talking to yourself in a loving fashion, that's just self-care. So there's a big distinction there. And then the last one I say of all the SHs is the shit. You know, we will draw that into our life if we treat ourselves that way. So we need to take responsibility for our own integrity and how we are being treated. Instead of being in the victim space, it's about how am I drawing this to me? And earlier, Jim, you said you had money issues. Whatever fear or worry or shame that you are carrying within you has a resonance inside of these chakras. The one that you mentioned, money problems, is root chakra. So you'll see your lumbar spine, maybe kyphosis, lordosis, whatever the case may be. I have repaired a lot of my scoliosis, which I've had lots of L4, L5, S1 issues my whole life. Not to be supported by these things that I'm removing. I can't wait to see what happens with my spine then. But so many of our emotional issues will misalign our spine. So money issues is the root chakra. And that working with that emotion and abundance, as well as getting adjustments, as well as, you cleanse out those negative thoughts, as well as you cleanse out the toxins and you align your spine. That's the perfect trilogy for transformation. But you can't just do one thing. So it's doing it, all of it is like getting you there so much faster. You can work on one topic at a time. That'll take you 5 years to get there. But if you work on all of it at one time, which is what we do in our practice with the labs and the emotions and the exercise and the fitness and the chiropractic and all the other things that gets chi, life force energy moving through you, you get there in weeks' time. You can get there faster. But that's why it takes a tribe. And you don't have to go alone anymore. You don't. You have it all within you. But when you have a tribe, they can bring out the best in you and put you back together like Humpty Dumpty.
Well, I know that I got more out of this than probably anybody else that's watching this. So thank you for sharing with me today. I know that this isn't the last time that we'll get on and do one of these things together. I know that we have so much to offer to people, and we will align people and give them resources. And I think that one of the things I wanted to ask you for is if people do want to work with you, will you comment in the chat how that they can reach out to you, but maybe just let them know how to find you?
Sure. Yeah, I can send you the information too. It's just DianeKazer.com, which is DIANEKAZ like zebra ER.com. And there's something on the top where you can say, listen to our masterclass. There's all kinds of stuff in there. I actually work with chiropractors and their teams. So I do this from a distance, like we can ship labs to everybody. So I say that when we're all doing this together, even if it's work on yourself or if it's work with patients, to have somebody that is aligning with you and winged with you on both sides, we can support everyone together. But if we just do a one linear thing without experiencing the holistic side, then we just have one instrument among 11. And we're 11 systems, like 11 teams, 11 players on the field, on a soccer field. And if one person gets a red card, the other 10 have to work harder. So why not work together?
Mm-hmm. Well, Diane, I just want to say thank you again for being my guest today and on the Chiro Hustle Afternoon Edition. And I want to thank Mike Tokash, who's watching, for sponsoring us and keeping us viable in the chiropractic space. We are the #1 podcast in chiropractic. And it wasn't because I had a great idea. It was because people are attracted to their charismatic leader, and people trust me to be able to carry out the mission of sharing this beautiful profession. And I know that most people don't know where to go or who to trust. So if you are looking for anybody to help uncongest your systems at your chiropractic clinic and get the right people involved with helping heal the full body and not just removing the subluxation, please reach out to Diane. And if there's any questions you might have for me, send us a DM, and we'd love to be your trusted resource for full body health. And it's not just about how you're feeling, but it's about how you're thinking. And I think that so many times people think it's one or the other, but it's what'd you say earlier, the yin and the yang of the approach. And I think that we have to think about both sides of the fence, like you said earlier as well. And we can't just think about it, I'm winning or I'm losing, but we have to incrementally fall in love with ourselves each day. And we have to incrementally add things into our lives. Like Kristen Moss says, she's like, and work everything else in incrementally. And most important thing is people do practice spinal health, and they are going to a chiropractor that will do diagnostic testing with them. But if that's not enough, please reach out to Diane so she can help get the full body health with you. And I know that you're such a warrior and you help so many people out there. So I just want to say in reverence, thank you for doing what you do. And thank you for spending some time with me today.
Thank you for having me, Jim. And thank you everybody for the comments and the love and the shares. And just thank you for your chiropractor out there doing what you do. I respect our work so much, and I'll keep fighting with you to keep chiropractic on board because it matters.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close out. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. You guys are just one story away. Keep hustling, and check out our sponsor, theimagingservices.com, and that is Michael Tokash. And with that being said, I have Diane Kazer and Jim Chester signing off from California and Colorado. Love and appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one. We'll see you.
Bye. Lots of love.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.